Hi everybody, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, I might be a little sunburned today as I was out walking around in Cozumel to pick up a few things for the group cruise that I was looking to pass out when we're on board. But as I'm out there traveling, I have seen some news stories out there, and another story that's not a great news story is we have a lady by the name of Anna Evans has gone missing in St. Martin. We have another cruise ship that has come down with propulsion issues. How many of those have we reported in the last few days? Also, if you're traveling this Thanksgiving to Port Everglades, I'm arriving in Port Everglades, they're saying be very careful because it's going to be super, super busy. And they got some warnings out there for traffic and people traveling there. Also, Montego Bay, good news for people in Jamaica. That cruise port is now back open. So a woman was on the Rotterdam on the 20th of this month and went on an excursion in St. Martin. When she took one of the tour buses, she got off the tour bus at a location and never returned to the ship. The ship has put out a warning, the ship is called, tried to reach her, no response whatsoever. They have contacted local police, Holland America, and the local police force has tried to find her. They've asked around, they've investigated, and now they're asking for the public's help. If you or anybody else has seen or comes across Ann Evans or herself, you know, in some of these cases we've seen that people get off and they're on their own, right? They've done it on purpose. They're asking them to at least contact the local police or their family, not even the police, their family, just to let them know that there's no foul play involved and there's nothing going on in that situation. However, as of right now, the police and the cruise lines just don't know, and neither do the family because they haven't heard from her neither. So if you happen to see Anna Evans, please contact local authorities as soon as you can. Next, let's talk about the Carnival Conquest. The Carnival Conquest was on a 4-day trip, including Celebration Key. When it was announced by the captain that they did overnight, they had a propulsion issues that was affecting their speed. They said they're going to have to slow down a little bit, and that affected their arrival at Celebration Key. By 3.5 hours, they were late getting to that destination. And of course, they couldn't hang around even longer to make up the difference because they have propulsion issues and needed to make sure that they get back to the terminal in order to get passengers off in time and bring on the next passengers. No word if the propulsion issues have been fixed yet or if it's an ongoing issue on the Conquest. They haven't really come out and said that everything's fixed, but they're on 3 and 4 night cruises right now. So 3 and 4 night cruises, they're not going far, but they're definitely can be affected by the speed of the cruise line and the cruise ship itself. But yeah, and it also, when they got back to the port in Miami, they ended up going to a different terminal than they parked at, kind of reminiscent of the Carnival Horizon when she broke down. This time though, however, she wasn't 8 hours late. She still was able, because it's such a short cruise, to get back on time. But again, they had to shuttle passengers back and forth from the cruise terminal that they originally left from and the cruise terminal they now arrived at. Even though it's walking distance, if you have a few suitcases and everything, bit of a pain to walk all that distance with all your suitcases. So they did have shuttles to arrange and bring everybody back and forth. Next, let's talk about Montego Bay, the second cruise port. Now, Ocho Rios in Jamaica has reopened after Hurricane Melissa, and now we have the Mind Shift was in port, and she was able to bring the first paying passengers back to Montego Bay. So 2 out of the 3 cruise ports have reopened there now, and the island is starting to get back to a little bit of normalcy. They really desperately need the cruise ships and other travel, you know, the all-inclusives, etc. in Jamaica. They desperately need people to return, especially for the holidays, and that's one of their busiest times of year. So they are looking forward to having that cruise port opened, definitely. And speaking of holidays, let's talk about what's going on in Port Everglades. But before I get there, let me just invite you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. You want to keep up to date with everything going on in cruising, from what might be affecting your cruise this weekend, to what might affect your cruise next week, to what might affect cruising in the future, and maybe we'll just make your cruise just a little easier, a little safer, a little more fun, a little more adventurous, and maybe even save you some money in the meantime. I hope you'll join us. Doesn't cost anything, but boy, it sure helps out when you hit that subscribe button, and I really do appreciate it. Okay, Thanksgiving weekend. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Here is the trick though, right? It is always busy. Flying on Thanksgiving in the United States, traveling anywhere, traffic is there. A lot of people kind of forget, hey, oh yeah, cruise ports can be busy as well. And this weekend will be no different. However, Thanksgiving Day is what's funny about it. It's the least busy. There's actually no ships home porting in Port Everglades on Thanksgiving Day. Oh, but then it picks up. And by Saturday, there's going to be 7 cruise ships sailing, 53,000 passengers trying to get on board and off the cruise ships this Saturday, which could mean huge parking delays, huge traffic jams as shuttles and taxis and Uber try and drop people off. You may need to double check and make sure you have plenty and plenty of extra time to get to the cruise ship, especially if you have one of those later embarkation days times. Like if you have a 1 o'clock or a 1:30 embarkation time, and then you wait to the last minute and you're heading there and all of a sudden you're stuck in a traffic jam to get to the cruise ship, you could actually miss embarkation time. Because remember, it's not, if the ship is sailing at say 4 o'clock, you have to be on board no later than 3 o'clock. Always a minimum of an hour ahead of time, because customs shuts down and they no longer allow people back onto the ships. And so, yeah, just as a heads up, it's going to be super, super busy this weekend in Miami. It's going to be busy in Orlando, but Port Everglades has issued that warning. There's going to be huge traffic possibility delays this weekend. All right, let me know in the comments down below. It seems kind of strange that we're just hearing about a missing passenger from the 20th. Like, it's a long time, right? Almost a full week. But were they suspect that she just got off on her own, and now maybe they're not so sure, and that's why they're spreading it out to everybody in the public to try and see if they've seen her or can find her, because they haven't turned up anything, and now they might suspect foul play. Let me know in the comments down below, and until next time, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.